Well, it was very, very scary, I'll tell you. Got on the boats the night before in Portsmouth, and we sat there for a while, and then about midnight or so we took off across the channel. And when we realized we were on our way, it was something to see. Mm-hmm. You could practically walk across from one boat to the other. There was that many boats in the water. Wow. The air, you couldn't imagine how they got that many airplanes in the air at one time and in such a space. It was just black with airplanes going over, bombing ahead of us. And when we landed, the boat couldn't get into shore far enough, and water was up to my neck here. We had bicycles on our back. I had a Bren gun and my rifle, which I had on my pack at the back, and I had to hold them with one hand and hold onto the rope. And we were soaking wet, as you know, from neck down. And when you got on the shore, there was no dry clothes there for us. So what did we have to do? We just carried on with the wet clothes, water in our boots, and we just got on our bicycles, and the way we went. We were sitting in the trench because there was bombs coming in, and we jumped into our trench, and my buddy, he said, "Hey," he says, "you got blood on your feet." So I looked down, and sure enough, there was blood on my feet. So I took my shirt off and that, and I turned around, and he says, "No, you're all right there." So I lowered my pants, and the blood came out of both sides of my leg. Oh. I'd been shot through the shrapnel wound through the thigh. Went through and come out the other side and burned a hole and burnt my leg on the other side, and the shrapnel was in my boot.
Would you ever do it again?
I often wondered the same thing. I suppose I would. The way I operate. Mm-hmm. I wanted to see where everybody else was going. I wanted to see what was going on. I liked traveling. Mm-hmm. I figured that was one way to travel.
Yeah.
Not knowing that I had a big chance of not coming back, but I took it anyhow. Yeah. I don't regret it. This is the first time I've taken part in anything celebrating. I'm looking forward to it.
Hey, excellent.
I hope I do them right. All we can do is the best.
Yeah. How old were you when the war broke out?
Actually, when the war broke out, I was 17. I was just about to go to university in England. I found out that both the universities, Oxford and Cambridge, had an auxiliary Air Force squadron, which seemed like a great way to learn to fly. We flew sort of things like Harvards and Miles Masters, which were about 600-700 horsepower engines. And that was the step to Spitfires. And of course, there was no two-seater Spitfire,
right,
or Hurricane. So if somebody showed you the taps and the knobs and the switches, stuck you in it and said goodbye. These were ordinary people. They weren't in uniform. They were, at least most of them weren't. And this was a war of, as Churchill described it, a war of unknown soldiers. Yeah. No, a war of heroes. I think war is the stupidest thing I know of. But on the other hand, if there ever was a justifiable war, it was probably that one.
What is Remembrance Day for you?
If you were there and you look back and remember, any day is Remembrance Day. It'll come to you all of a sudden, any day. I think the names may go, but the faces are always there.